Welcome to the Smart Connector podcast. It's great to have you here. And as ever, I have another fantastic guest for you. Welcome, Lewis Crompton.
Thank you very much, Shane. Thank you for having me.
So, Lewis is a Forex trader. He's an author and he's the CEO of STARTrading Now, which is an education and development platform that helps aspiring traders learn all about how to succeed through Forex. And for those of you who don't know, Forex stands for foreign exchange trading. And in this episode, we're going to get right into it and ask Lewis why anyone outside professional investment circles or the city of London, for example, would actually want to learn these skills. And I know that Forex has had a bad reputation at times as one of those kind of get rich quick things. So we're going to really blast away all the myths around, is Forex good, is Forex bad, and why would anybody want to kind of get their head around it and actually learn how to do it. So yeah, great to have you here. Really
Thank you very
good.
much, Shane. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Lewis, let's start at the beginning. How did you actually come to be a Forex expert? How did you learn about all of this?
Very good question. So it was actually a journey that started accidentally a little over 9 years ago. So I don't know if you've heard of Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Rich Dad Education.
Yeah.
I had friends who did a course of his and read his book and highly recommended that I read the book. So I didn't buy the book, but I did see a seminar advert for one of his courses on property investment, of all things. So I thought I'd go along to that. I registered, and by some twist of fate, I pressed the wrong button when I registered, and I registered for the wrong event. So when I got to the hotel, where the event was held, they said, you're not on this list. So I went, well, I've definitely registered for something today at this time. What's happened? And they checked my email that I had with my confirmation, and they said, oh, you've signed up for the other event, and that's on trading. So that is where it kind of all started accidentally. So yes, I had the inclination to want to learn how to make my money make more money, but it was very much an accident, a very happy accident.
Well, that's great. So isn't that funny? Isn't it? It just is strange, isn't it? Those peculiar twists of fate that make you end up somewhere rather than somewhere else. And then so you did you spend a day there in that event?
So that was just a 2-hour seminar,
Okay.
which was just a sales pitch.
Yeah.
As we know as business people, this is how it works.
Yeah.
And they were selling a weekend course, a 3-day course. So
Yeah.
I was completely sold. I'd never been in an environment like that before, and I knew that this was going to solve my problems for the whole of my life. And fun enough, it did, but obviously wasn't necessarily sure of that at the time. But it just kind of ticked a lot of boxes for me. So it ticked the ability for me to be able to travel the world, which is what I wanted to do. I was 24 at the time. I'd been working in retail on the shop floors. I'd worked my way up into head office, and I just realized that I didn't want to do that for the rest of my life, but I didn't know what to do next.
Yeah.
So it ticked that box because I could make money not having to be trapped in an office or at a desk. I could travel the world and make money as long as I had my laptop and an internet connection. It just was very, very much the freedom lifestyle that I wanted, that I was told trading could give me. So yeah, signed up for that 3-day training. That was a sales pitch to a 9-month mentorship program. So I signed up for the 9-month mentorship program, which cost more than half my annual salary actually.
Wow.
At the time. Yeah. So it was a big investment, but you know, when you just find that thing and you realize this could be something special. And so I just had to go all in. I could just feel it in my gut. I was like, this is what I want to do. So I went for it, and I wasn't naturally good at it. People always say, oh, you must have been really naturally good at trading. No. It took learning. It's a skill set. Like I think business is a skill set. You have to learn those bits of the puzzle and learn how to fit them together, and then you can make a success of it. So after 7 months of being on that mentorship, I was able to leave my job, and I started doing exactly what I set out to do, which was traveling the world and making my money wherever it was that I was going, and had a great time. Yeah.
Well, I mean, that's amazing. And that is such a success story. And of course, a lot of people that go into these types of programs and mentorships, they don't actually make it, do they? So what is it about you? What was the difference that meant that you managed to grab the bull by the horns, as it were, and actually make a success of it?
Yeah, I think I was I was truly inspired by what my life could be. And
Yeah,
I had that pain motivation of I really didn't want to be stuck in retail for the rest of my life.
yeah,
I really, that was just a categorical no-go. But I think there is a dynamic I have, and I don't entirely know where it comes from, whether it's nature or nurture, but I don't like giving up. I will keep going. And
yeah,
so I just kept going. And I think again, I maybe forced myself to keep going because I put half my annual salary into this thing. So I took
exactly.
out a loan, I took out a credit card. I put myself in a position where I had to make it work. I burnt my bridges or my
Yeah,
burnt my boats, whichever one it is. I always mix up my analogies. So I did that. I burnt everything, and I was like, I have to make this work. And again, I had the negative motivation that my parents told me I was being silly. My friends told me I was being silly. My friends were telling me it was never going to work, and I was like, okay, then let's see if I can. And I did, and that was 9 years ago, and the rest is, as they say, is kind of history.
Well, that's absolutely fantastic, Lewis, and I'm sure that you're gonna inspire a lot of people through this podcast. So, first of all, congratulations
Thank you very
for
much.
actually making it work. That's really, really wonderful.
I will
So
say that, just
yeah,
to throw in one of my favorite quotes, which is actually by Arnold Schwarzenegger, of all people. But he says, call me anything, but don't call me a self-made man, because I did not make myself to be who I am today. There was other people involved in that process. And I think that's another reason why I was able to be successful, because I did have that support. I did have that mentorship structure. It
yeah,
wasn't just a case of, oh, I'm going to try and learn online. I'm going to try and learn on this or that and go to different types of forums where there's loads of confusing and mixed advice and all of that. I just stuck to one process, got myself around the right people, stayed the course, stayed consistent, and just got on with it, really, from that perspective.
yeah, and I think that's a really important point because I think a lot of people in the beginning, I mean, obviously I have an entrepreneurial, education offer as well, and I think a lot of people, they don't wanna spend the money, and you can understand why, because it hurts, doesn't it?
Yeah,
We can all, think of better things to spend our money on in a way than self-improvement. It'd be nice if we could just go and spend all of our money on holidays and just
oh,
get all
wouldn't it?
this. Yeah.
Yeah,
And then just get all this stuff for free, but there is no substitute for a clear roadmap from people who they don't just, talk the talk, but they've actually walked the walk.
yeah,
So I think that's a really important point that you make there, Lewis.
yeah.
Um, okay, so, Lewis, how did you, I mean, what was it about Forex that, just the light bulb went on and it was like, "Yeah, this is what I want to do."
Yeah. I think with Forex is a really useful market to trade. I mean, I say market, it's obviously Forex is multiple markets, it's foreign currencies. You're trading the value fluctuation between the two of them. And so that people think it's volatile. It's not volatile. It has what's called volume. So it has a lot of movement. Billions upon billions of pounds is traded every
Mhm.
single day in the Forex markets. And so that volume of people, that volume of money trading the market creates shapes, creates patterns, creates movements. And so
Mhm.
it's those patterns that we learn to identify and we learn to trade. And by basing our trading, our Forex trading, on patterns, allows us to trade for less than 30 minutes a day. So the skill set that I developed, I shrunk it down. I simplified it. I systemized it to make it as short a process as possible. I remember when I was sat in the car with my parents as a kid and they asked me, what do you want to be when you're older? I said, I don't know, but I want to be rich and I don't want to work very hard. So that's basically what I've created as my life. Talk about manifestation if people are into that. That's what I've ended up creating. I work 30 minutes a day within my own trading, and then the rest of my day I do what I'm passionate about, which is helping other people. But that funds me to do what I do. And so those patterns, when we're looking at Forex, are created a lot more than they are in other types of market. We can still trade, and really the skill set that I teach people isn't just Forex. I focus on Forex, but I also trade commodities like gold, like silver, like oil,
Yeah.
stocks and shares. You can use it for as well. You can use it for longer term style investment. You can use it for shorter term style investment as well. The skill
Mhm.
set that you learn when you become a trader, a retail trader, not an institutional trader, different,
Yeah.
as a retail trader, is so flexible to different types of market.
Okay, so you made the point that a retail as opposed to an institutional trader is different. So for people that don't really understand the difference, how could you summarize that?
So to summarize that, an institutional trader generally needs to have their money working in the market. So
Hmm.
they might have, I'm going to keep the math simple because I'm not the best with maths. I use spreadsheets for everything. So if let's say you had say you're an institutional trader and you have £100,000 that you have to trade with, you need to have most of that money in the market. So you're very highly exposed in the market because you need to have all of that money working.
Yeah.
As a retail trader, we can step back from that. We can massively de-risk the process, and we can have just 1% of our entire account in the market, which keeps us safe, keeps us protected, and lowers the emotional engagement that we have with the process as well, which actually makes us better at the process. So if
Yes.
I had £100,000 in my trading account as a retail trader like I am, then I would only need to be risking £1,000 of that. I think my maths is right there. So yeah, just £1,000 of that, which means I'm low risk, but I'm high reward. And because of the systems and the strategies which I teach people to implement into the
Mm.
market, that low risk still has a reward of, say, a profit margin of about 5% to 10% per month once they know all of our strategies and they're operating safely, which annually looks like 60 to 100% growth on your account, your entire account, which
Yeah.
is pretty tasty.
Well, it certainly is. I mean, that is a very, very significant profit. It really is. And
Yeah.
if you learn to get that right, I can understand how it can have a real, really positive impact on your life.
It does, and that's the impact I want to have on other people. So
Mm.
my history, I've always wanted to take the value I've learned or received and pass it on to other people. So now the incarnation of that is my goal is to give as many people as I possibly can around the world access to skills and knowledge which will make them financially peaceful. That doesn't mean quitting your job, doesn't mean any of that if you don't want to, but what is going to make you peaceful rather than just financially free. I know plenty of people who are financially free who don't have peace. So I would rather give people financial peace.
Oh, I love that. I think that's a great phrase, and I haven't heard that before.
Yeah.
Financially peaceful. That's so nice, isn't it?
Yeah, I haven't heard it before. I started really thinking about this the other day. And what is it I want to do? What is it I'm trying to bring people? And I've always been about bringing peace to situations, peace into relationships. I'm a bit of a peacemaker by nature.
Yeah.
Probably avoid conflict a bit too much, to be honest. So I've always been a peacemaker, and my mum's exactly the same. And I was just like, someone said to me that, oh, I help people become financially free, financially independent, and it just didn't resonate with me as much as I thought it would. So then I
Mhm.
went on this journey. I was like, well, what does resonate with me then? Because obviously I'm talking to people about money.
Mhm.
So what is it? And for me, I realized it's about financial peace. And that's what I'm trying to establish in people's lives. Because if you give them financial peace, their relationships become easier because they're not stressed out about money. Their
Yeah.
relationship with their kids becomes better. The
Mhm.
relationship with everything, every aspect of their life is touched and changed in a positive way if they have financial peace. So I'm sure now I've said it, loads of people are going to be stealing that and using it all over the place. But you heard it here first.
Yes, definitely, definitely. Well, that's amazing, Lewis. So let's get into this whole thing of why Forex sometimes has a bit of a bad rep because sometimes I watch this thing called the Entrepreneur Bingo. I don't know
Oh
if you've
yeah,
seen it on
yeah,
YouTube. I love that guy, Mike Winnett.
yeah,
And so I think the Forex people are one of his targets. And obviously you get charlatans in all these kind of investment areas. I mean, you get it in marketing, you get it in property, and of course you get it in investment and trading and so on.
yeah.
But why is it that it gets a bad rep, and how can people avoid, obviously, other than registering for your programs? How can they make sure that they stay away from the bad guys?
I think there's a few things you can do. I think the first thing is to not be looking for a quick fix, not be looking for the get rich quick thing, because Forex is not that. That doesn't exist. There is no such thing as that. And if anything gets you money that quick, you can lose it that quick as well, doing exactly the same thing. And that for a lot of people was the case with crypto. And I actually do believe in crypto for the long term. That's definitely a different conversation, but I do believe in crypto for the long term. But people jump in without any knowledge, without any research, because they think it's a good get rich quick thing for them. Sorry, I just had to decline a phone call that was coming through. So yeah, I think that is part of the problem, is that people are looking for I call it the skinny pill of finance, the thing which is they can take a pill and they'll suddenly be body beautiful. They're doing the same when it comes to their finances. And that is very, very attractive to people. Very, very attractive. So I think why there's so many people who are doing the wrong thing and trying to scam people. I mean, I've personally been scammed in the past in a business setting. It's awful. You feel terrible. Yeah. And I don't understand why we feel terrible when we're the ones who've been scammed as opposed to the person who's done it. So people want to get rich. People want to be in a better financial situation than they are. And so I think they don't pay attention to some of the warning signs that are there. And one of the big ones is people taking your money to trade for you on your behalf. That's a big one. That's a big one. Really simple way to check if they're legit or not. I mean, I would say 99% of the time they're not. So just avoid anything like that. And again, my opinion is, it might be an unpopular one, if you're handing your money to someone to invest for you like that, and they're promising you amazing returns for their work, you are actually just being lazy with your finances, and you need to take ownership of your finances. And what I do is I empower people to take ownership of their finances and have a skill set which will make the money. So you may not get rich quick straight away in the first 6 months, but you will have a skill set which can make you very, very wealthy for the rest of your life and pass on to generations. But if you're just looking for the lazy, easy, simple pill, then you're leaving yourself open to being scammed, unfortunately. But any of those things, check their website, go to the bottom of their website, check the registration address in terms of postal address. If that is outside of the US, if you're US based, outside of the UK, so the Cayman Islands, Greece, the Seychelles, somewhere like that, do not trust it, because they are not in a financially regulated country. So just don't go near anything like that.
Right. So how do we know? I mean, is there like a register of financially regulated countries?
Yeah, you can just Google that to see if your country is financially regulated. So, for example, the UK financial regulator insures your money with registered organizations like banks, like brokers, to £85,000. So if you have £85,000 in your account and they end up doing the dirty and disappearing, your money is insured up until that amount of money. So that's why we recommend brokers who are in those safe countries, because we want to make sure you're protected. Again, I'm very much about de-risking the process, keeping you peaceful in your finances. Everything's okay. You're good. We've got you.
Yeah. But I love this idea of just financial responsibility, and a really, I mean, I also have a property business, and it's one of the lessons that I learned, because I see a lot of people putting money into property development projects and losing a lot of money. And
that happened to me.
Of course it does, and you can understand why, because of course it's bricks and mortar, and people think, well, I can see it, I can see the project going up, the project's going to have value and all the rest of it. What they don't understand is the number of variables that are actually completely outside of the control of even the developer. And of course, the more knowledgeable and experienced the developer, the less those variables are likely to impact them. Really, the less experienced, the more those variables will come in, and the more risky the project often becomes. I mean,
that's why my personal belief is actually property is a riskier investment vehicle than the style of trading that I do. Like I said, I risk 1%. People are like, oh, that doesn't seem too risky. I was like, no, it's not, because we're de-risking the process. I want to protect your money. And if you've ever traded before, you know that the name of the game is capital protection and then capital appreciation. And if you're in the UK, by the way, that capital appreciation is tax-free. Just a little tidbit for you there. Yeah, which is brilliant. So if you make your profit trading in the UK as an individual and you're a UK resident, it's tax-free.
Really? Well, that's pretty good, isn't it?
Oh, it's
I say
brilliant. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm getting all excited now. This is maybe something that I should be doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that's really, really interesting, Lewis. So this was obviously a few years ago, as you mentioned, that you learned about this. And so, how long ago was it that you set up your academy and started helping other people?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I started my trading journey about 9 years ago. Then after 7 months, I left my job. I'm giving a very quick, rapid fire history of me, how I got to
Yes.
here. Then
Yes.
I left my job. I did a testimonial for Rich Dad, and they realized I was quite comfortable in front of people. When I was I grew up in church. I used to teach and speak in church and that type of thing. So I'm used to large crowds of people.
Yeah.
And I did that, and they realized I was good in front of people. So then about a year after being a full-time trader, they asked if I would come back and teach for them. So I said, yep, sure. So I ended up teaching for Robert Kiyosaki's brand, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And
Yeah.
as I was traveling around the world, I'd stop off at different locations that they had teaching sessions going on. So I ended up teaching in Singapore, in Canada, in America, in Mexico, in South Africa, different parts of Europe. It was fantastic. I loved it because I was traveling the world and doing something I was passionate about. And then
Yeah.
it was about 3.5, 4 years ago where I just kind of decided, right, part of my own growth now, I've learned these skills. I want to be able to help more people than I currently am within this framework and in a
Yeah.
slightly different framework, which is more true to me, and that I've condensed into a simpler format that I want to use. So I could focus on teaching people how to do it in literally 30 minutes a day or less. So that's kind of my specialty, and my focus is teaching people how to trade, yes, Forex, but also stocks, shares, commodities, and indexes, all in less than 30 minutes a day and still making very, very good returns whilst risking very little.
Well, I mean, that sounds pretty exciting, really. I mean, people love quick and easy, don't
They
they?
do. Yeah.
Yeah, yes, everybody knows that. So, quick, 30 minutes a day, that's quick. The results are not quick, as you said, because this is a skill for life, really. That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah.
But if you don't have to spend too much, tie up hours and hours of 12 hours a day,
Yeah.
30 minutes it's achievable for anybody, really, isn't it? No matter what else they're doing.
It is, yeah. I mean, the majority of our community are either business people who run full-time businesses, and we know that that's more than 40 hours a week. Or they're property investors, or they have full-time jobs and families that they're looking after as well. People are busy. The modern
Yes.
world, we are busy. So
Yes.
that's why I believe every single person should learn how to trade, because if you put in 30 minutes a day to trade, most people can find 30 minutes. And we
Yes.
tend to do it in the morning before the rest of the day goes crazy and busy, and we've got that skill set there for life. But if you're learning through a structured mentorship process and mentorship program, there's no
Mm.
reason why you couldn't be trading multiple strategies profitably and safely within 6 months' time, which is still not really that long a time frame, really.
No, I mean, not really. No, 6 months. It's really, as I mean, obviously we're making a comparison with property. I mean, my business, my little business in property, I work with very, very experienced investors and very, very experienced developers, and I put them together. So
Yeah.
there'll be people who they've maybe been doing it for like 30 years or something like. So there'll be, a bit long in a tooth, bit like me, if you know what I mean. So they will have been doing it for a long, long time.
Yeah.
And you put a property developer or a property development investor who's been doing it for 6 months, who didn't really know what they were doing 6 months earlier, you drop them into some kind of an investment environment, and it would be catastrophic,
Yeah.
absolutely catastrophic.
Yeah.
And of
Definitely.
course, the amount of money is a lot bigger as well, and you can't just
Higher risk.
dial
Yeah.
it. Yeah, high risk.
Yeah.
It is high risk. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's really, really interesting.
Jane, you've just put something's clicked in my head as well, which I hadn't thought about before. But I'm a property investor as well. I'm still buying property. I could only invest in property because I made profit in trading, and I took
Yeah.
those profits to then invest. But what's just clicked in my brain is I hadn't realized, which is odd, but I can get someone trading fully and confidently and live and making money in 6 months on my mentorships but I can't get a buy to let over the line in even 9 months sometimes. And it's
Yeah.
a simple buy to let. Like, that's crazy. So if you want to start your property journey, you start your investment journey, and you're looking at property, you could easily be looking at 6 to 12 months before you even own one, which is then only going to be cash flowing you 200, £300 a month. Or I could just teach you how to trade, and you could be up and running within 6 months, making 5% a month for the rest of your life.
Yeah, which it really is amazing. So, personally, I'm getting very excited about this. I'm going to tell all my children about it as well, because they need to learn this as well. So that's fantastic. Now, Lewis, you mentioned that you came from the church, or you had a church background. So tell us about how you grew up and what you did, because you've got quite an interesting story, haven't you?
Yes. So my parents are actually teachers, so they weren't really the ones that encouraged me to go to church. Not that teachers don't go to church. That sounds a ridiculous statement. But if so, it also stands to reason that I would end up becoming a teacher of sorts, because it's in my blood, generation after generation, to be a teacher. But yeah, so they took me to church when I was younger, and then when I was about 11, I really picked it for myself. I was on a church summer camp, and I just really connected with my spirituality, and it was something which just felt very, very true and very, very real to me. So that kind of developed and grew over the years. I remember having significant experiences when I was 15, which really solidified that and just made me go even deeper into the world of church, and kind of on the spiritual end. So um, looking at stuff like prophecy, which is another word for psychic stuff, although they wouldn't say it's the same thing. They think one comes from one source and one comes from another source. So that type of thing. Faith healings, I would do that. I would pray for people to be healed. I was that person on the street that would ask to pray for people. I would preach on the streets. I would door knock. I've done all of that. Not like a Jehovah's Witness, slightly different. And I was ordained in the church at the age of 18. So I was slightly older when I was ordained, but when I was 18, I trained as a counselor within the church, because the core of my being, beyond anything else, has always been to help people,
Yes.
to improve their lives and transform their lives in some form of positive way. So that was always the core of my being. So at 18, I found an organization in California, actually, who were very much on the spiritual side of Christianity. Were also helping people through this type of deep inner healing work and all of that wonderful, weird, wacky, crazy Christian spirituality.
Yeah.
And I did that for many years, loved it. And it was my sense of being, my sense of purpose. I knew exactly what I was on the planet to do. I was helping people. And then, for reasons I won't go into in too much detail, I had to step away from those organizations and stop running my it was a business at the time, helping people internationally within those circles.
Yeah.
I had to step away from all of that. And then I was kind of left adrift from the purpose perspective, because I didn't know what to do.
Yeah.
And that's when trading kind of entered my life, and I just really focused my energies and my attentions onto that. And when I started being able to teach people, I realized, oh, I'm kind of getting back on my purpose. I'm getting back on the core of who I am. I'm helping people in a
Yeah.
very different way. I say very differently because trading is so much about mindset and emotional management that I do a lot of counseling with my mentees anyway, to help them through the process and the barriers that come up.
Yeah.
But I realized I was back on my mission, back on my purpose of actually helping people and truly helping them find peace in just a different area of their life than it was when I was back in the church.
Well, that's amazing, Lewis. And I think also for a, young person, because so many young people do struggle with a sense of purpose, don't they?
Yeah.
And, in a way, talking to you, you almost kind of come across as quite an old soul in a way, somebody who perhaps you have some wisdom beyond your years. And I'm not sure whether that comes from that, all that kind of exposure to the spiritual side of life. But it's very clear to me that, there is some wisdom there, which is really amazing and very moving,
Thank
So
you.
yeah. So that's fantastic. So Lewis, what is it that in terms of the Forex, what is the kind of fundamental guiding principles that people should be thinking about if they're embarking on a Forex well, I call it career, but if you're doing it for 30 minutes a day, it doesn't feel like a career, does
I
it?
know it feels weird to say I'm a full-time trader when I spend 30 minutes doing it, and that's
Yeah,
full-time. It is a strange set of wording.
yeah,
So I created a methodology around trading, which are kind of the key foundations that people need to be aware of if they're going to be trading. And this was something that was picked up by, I'm going to name drop here, apologies, but picked up by Bloomberg, picked up by Yahoo Finance, picked up by all those people, because it's quite unique within our field.
yeah,
So it's a 5-pointed process, because we're called star trading, play on words for start trading, but it's actually star trading. So it's
yeah.
a 5-pointed star, and the 5 points are chart mastery. So you really have to understand what the charts are telling you. The
Okay.
second is risk mastery, making sure we're protecting our money.
Yeah.
Really, really important. The third one is strategy mastery. There's no way you should be approaching the market if you don't have a strategy. That's lunacy. You wouldn't just walk into a estate agent and buy a property with no idea about the context of where that property is and what you're going to do with it. You need strategy, right? The fourth one is mindset mastery. So managing this and managing this, so that that's not getting in the way of you making the right decisions. And then the fifth one is optimization. So once we've mastered all of those, so we're trading successfully and we're trading profitably and we're trading confidently, how can we improve the process? How can we do more whilst doing less, make more whilst doing less? So that's where the optimization comes in. And so the optimization I've been doing over 9 years of trading is what's allowed me to create that system, create that structure, and teach it to other people in less than 30 minutes a day. So one of the key components, if you're looking at, let's just take one of them, let's take chart mastery. You're looking at the charts. What you're really looking for is for the chart to tell you what direction is it moving in next. If you can identify what direction the chart is going to move in next, you're going to make money for the rest of your life. That's what we're trying to do. So that's the core foundation. What is the chart telling us? What direction is it moving into next? And there's lots of different tactics and techniques and strategies we can use to identify that, but that is really the core of what we're doing. We're letting the chart tell us, where am I going next?
Okay. So, I mean, does it help to be a scientist, for example, or a mathematician? And the reason why I'm asking is because actually my daughter's boyfriend is quite young, but he is really a scientist, I would say. You know, very, very geeky, and he's very interested in crypto.
Yeah.
And you know, so he likes to show me, look, these charts, and this is happening, and that is happening, and you know, I don't think it's that interesting. It's as interesting to my daughter, let's say, or me, because he's a very geeky mathematician slash scientist. So do you have to be a mathematician or a scientist to be good at this stuff? Does it help?
No, it does not help. It probably is if not a hindrance. So there's 4 personality types that I talk about when it comes to trading.
Yeah.
All of them have their strengths, all of them have their weaknesses.
Yeah.
So the strength of someone who is that way inclined, quite scientific. I am not, by the way. My undergrad was in sociology, my master's was in theology. So
Okay.
maths and numbers is not a strength of mine. Like I said, trading did not come naturally. It's a skill set I had to develop. But
Okay.
if you are minded like that, you are going to have different problems to somebody else, and you can have different strengths to somebody else. So your strengths are that you will maybe pick up on the details that you should be picking up on quite easily. You may be able to identify the right movements in the market, and you'll be able to create really, really good quality data, which we use to make our trading decisions. The downsides are you will find too much information. You'll find too many reasons to not take action and press that buy button when you should be pressing that buy button. And you'll find excuses to not place trades. So you kind of get caught up in your own thinking. And trading and investing in general can be such a rabbit hole of information, because there's so much information out there, which 95% of it you do not need to trade successfully, but it's out there. So that can be a hindrance to you if you're that type of personality.
Well, that's absolutely fascinating, and I suppose on the flip side, if you're somebody like, I'm a very decisive person, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, so I've been told I've got like some ADHD traits, so you know, I'm kind of like, yeah, let's do it, you know, and I'm just that kind of person, and I would imagine that likewise, those kind of people, they again, strengths and weaknesses. It's good to be decisive, but on the other hand, you have to watch out for being impulsive or sort of,
Completely.
actually, elevating your risk profile,
Yeah.
which is something that I'm conscious of as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, big time. And that's why, again, I think mentorship and support is so important, because I make every single person that comes onto my training do a personality test. So
Mm.
me and my mentorship team know what we're dealing with, because
Makes
then we know
sense.
we need to push these people a little harder to take action. And
Yeah.
these people, we need to rein them in a little bit. And we have systems and strategies for each of those personality types to help them make the best of their personality type and their approach to the market. So it's not about not being who you are, but we need to accentuate and we need to rein in certain elements.
Yeah, I love that. And also your focus on a mindset, because really when you're dealing with anything to do with money, the mindset is going to come in, isn't it?
Yeah.
And of course, I'm familiar with Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and that's a very big theme in that kind of
Yeah.
that book really, and that whole kind of philosophy really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's also important in property as well. It's important really in any kind of investment,
Yeah.
isn't it? And anywhere where money is, mindset comes into it, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, listen, it's been such a pleasure to speak to you, Lewis. It's been a fantastic interview. And what I'd, like to share with our viewers and listeners, if possible, is what is the best way to get hold of you?
So the best way to get hold of me is either through Instagram. So my Instagram name is @Lewis_Crompton. Please spell it correctly. Being in the industry I'm in, there's a lot of frauds and copycats of me, unfortunately. So please be careful. Or you can email me, and my name is Lewis. My email is Lewis, which is my name, at STAR trading TRADING now now.com. So that's my email address, Lewis@StarTradingNow.com.
Okay, thank you so much, Lewis. So, do you have a final message, just to kind of wrap up with to anybody that's interested in investment and in Forex?
Yes, be brave, go for it, but go for it sensibly. Go for it understanding the risk involved and get the right education from the right people before you get involved too heavily.
Okay. Well, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure to speak to you, Lewis. And, personally, I feel really inspired. So I'm sure that my audience will as well. But it has been an absolute pleasure.
Thank you very much, Shane. I've really